All right, guys, welcome, welcome. Making sure we are good to go and that we are live. And YouTube is showing me that we are. Let me make sure I get everything going and then we will get started very, very shortly here. I'm super pumped and excited. Despite this being all about taxes, I'm really excited to be talking about today's topic simply because this is one of those things that's super important in your business, and whether you put your hands on it and you touch it directly or not, it's still something that you want to have an idea of what is going on, because the last thing that you want is to really build the business that you want, don't understand fully the tax implications or just the general basics of what you should know and how that's going to impact your business, and then something happens or you find yourself in a situation where maybe your tax accountant or professional and their services, they stop or they close, they have a medical or family emergency. They don't have time to bring you up to speed as to what's going on. You're sitting lost and in the dark, and you never want to have that happen. So today we're going to be talking about it. We actually are going to be doing a high level overview of the specific tax bill. We're not really tax bill anymore. It's actually law now. And we want to make sure that we don't have any issues when it comes to getting our business set up the right way and doing things decent and in order. So today we're actually going to have a mini presentation, again, just a high level overview so that you can really get a general understanding of what's going on, how this is going to work, and not just for the business. Actually going to have a really dedicated webinar, probably sometime within the first quarter, probably guaranteed within the first quarter of the year, somewhere between January and March of 2018, where we'll actually take time, discuss more in depth with a lot of examples, different business industries and things like that, because the tax law that was just passed, that whole document, I said it was 1,100 pages, actually 1,098, but give or take a page or two, but roughly 1,100 pages is still a lot of content to digest. Really, still very soon to really dissect and see what these tax implications are going to have fully. But just wanted to give you some different points, in your personal life, your financial life, whether you are an entrepreneur yet or you're in the process of becoming one, or even if you have a business and you may want to take some time out, go over some details and some things that we'll talk about today with your specific tax professional. Of course, I am not a certified CPA or public accountant. I am not a tax professional or anything like that. Seek legal professional advice, or professional advice rather, for this specific topic. This is just some general information, some things that you guys should know and that you want to know when you're getting started in your business. So we are going to be proceeding right along. I'm making sure everything is good to go. Want to make sure we get this shared out today. Things that you guys should know, and the audio is great, so that's popping up well. Uh, so I got the chat window that'll be up in the corner periodically. I'll take some time out to go through those. If you guys have any questions along the way, again, I'm not giving you advice on exactly what you should do in the specific different situations that you may have going on in your personal financial life, health-wise, and things like that. But I do want to make sure I just give you the facts on the issue. And then this is a conversation that is just not going to happen this one time, or even when we go more in depth into the webinar in the first quarter of the year. This is a progressive conversation. This is something that we want to take time out. Again, taxes aren't sexy. We know that. We know that nobody wants to sit around and crunch numbers all day, or maybe you do. But most people don't really want to sit around and crunch numbers and stuff like that all day. And that's where I come into place. Excuse me. And again, I will keep an eye on the chat window periodically, just to take any questions. If you guys want to get any of your questions answered, whether you're watching now live or on the rebroadcast, make sure that you post those down below and I'll respond to you, get back to you, or what have you. But let's go ahead and jump right into the content that we have for today. So today we're going to be talking about how the new 2018 tax law, you may hear it described as a tax bill or the new bill or what have you, but it's actually law now since it's been passed by Congress. So how the new 2018 tax law impacts startup entrepreneurs. So let's get that out the way. All righty, let's move on. So here's what you'll learn today. So today we know taxes aren't sexy. but they're necessary, right? And so today, what we're going to be talking about, again, high level overview of what we're going to be talking about, what the new tax law is designed to achieve, who it's supposed to impact or who is it going to impact. We're also going to be covering some personal slash individual tax changes, an overview that you will experience and things like that. Just how is this going to affect me in my day to day life? Also, going to cover some healthcare, some household changes that you want to know. I did have more content packed inside of this, but I didn't want to overwhelm you guys because, again, this is a huge, huge thing that's happening right now, and it's going to take some time to get through all of this content. So I reduced some of this content again, just to in the different areas that we're talking about now that we're going to be covering. So, talking about some healthcare and household changes that you'll want to know. Also, have some small business entity rumors and some impacts to entrepreneurs, regardless as to what kind of a business that you are running. And so, who am I? So, my name, of course, is Diana Gladney. You're watching this live on YouTube, or maybe you're watching on the rebroadcast, or even on my website at thesmallbusinessstartup.com. But I am a small business development coach. My YouTube channel is Entree Woman TV, where help you transition your passion into a business that you love, so you can start the side hustle that you want. So, my focus on my channel, in my network, in my business, everything that I do is focused on teaching small business development tips to entrepreneurs, helping you guys transform your passion, the thing that you love to do, the thing that you go to sleep at night and wake up in the morning still thinking about, helping you turn that passion, that idea that you have, into a viable business. And those are the kinds of things that you can learn from me, where it's dealing with video marketing, small business development, as well as tech and software tools and tips along the way. So you know what tools and resources that you need. You can always find my content at thesmallbusinessstartup.com. Again, you'll hear me say that interchangeably with dianagladney.com. Also find me on YouTube, youtube.com/EntreWomanTV. Or you can just search in the search bar on YouTube, Diana Gladney. Anywhere you search Diana Gladney, you're going to find me primarily in these three locations: my website, YouTube, and on Facebook at Coach Diana Gladney. So, first thing that we want to start to cover is the individual tax changes, and that's for your personal as well as your familial or for your family life that you'll experience what's going on there. So, it's a few important things that you want to know. The 2018 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. That's what it's called, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And so, here's what we have to understand. This is not going to be talked about from a perspective whether you're a Republican or you're a Democrat, or whether you're liberal, or if you're any whatever, whatever. Okay. I don't care if you wear blue socks, black socks, or green socks. I don't care if you're far right or far left. None of those things matter in the context of this conversation. So, as we begin to move forward, I would ask that if you post anything in the comments or you post anything in the chat, that you always remain respectful, and that you always just stick to the topic. I don't want to hear it about any kind of politics or politicians or anything like that. This is want to make sure we stay respectful to everybody's well, not just respectful to everyone, but just respectful on the channel and for the network. We're all entrepreneurs here. We're all in the same boat. And it doesn't matter what side you sit on. So not all of these changes that have been made are bad, or, necessarily considered quote unquote bad. But today we're just going to be focusing again on just some of the ways that we are going to be impacted as entrepreneurs. So, of course, again, as I've said, more in-depth trainings will become available in the first quarter of 2018. Actually do a dedicated webinar going through the specifics when it comes to your business, different business types, different business entities, as we continue to unpack this tax law. So first thing we're going to do, first thing I want you to know is that this will go into effect into the 2018 fiscal year. Now, a fiscal year can end within a quarter. So again, January, February, March, that's one quarter. And you continue on until you get to 12 months. So every one of those 3 months equals a quarter. Okay. So that's a fiscal year, whereas that differs from what we're familiar with on the consumer side of things is the calendar year, which will go typically from January to December. So this goes into effect 2018, which actually begins in a few days. So second thing I want you guys to know is that the new tax law, it'll address some changes for individuals, It'll also address some tax changes or reforms for healthcare, as well as major corporations. You have to think, big businesses, the Walmart, the Targets of the world. Just Wells Fargo, those major corporations, and the kinds of things that they'll continue to experience, that'll be beneficial to them, and then the small business entities. So we're not going to get into anything dealing with the major corporations, because it's just not where the audience is right now, or pertinent to anything that I specifically teach. At some point we may cover how that differs from a major corporation or a small business entity like your LLCs, that many of you may have, or sole proprietorship. So those are some of the different touch points. Okay, it reforms a few different areas. Uh, Got a bubble there. Okay, there we go. So number three and number three. Well, number three and number four. So we are only covering a high level overview of how this will affect you in your personal life, from your personal taxes, as well as your household and healthcare impacts. Again, took out some of the information for the household. I just wanted to really keep it very basic. And then also how this will begin to affect small business entities and the impact that that'll have on us as well as our business. And then also you guys will get free access to some resources, some lists, simple strategies to stay informed on what's going on with this particular tax law, and new updates that will be coming down the pipeline. And I'll give you some information at the end on how you can begin to do that and where you can find out more information. So moving forward, first thing that we want to jump into, again, we're right now, the segment that we're into and that we're talking about today is we're talking about your taxable income. And this is dealing with your personal self as well as for your family self. And so here's one of the things that I want you guys to realize is that before, whether you have a business or not, is that you're familiar with what we're going to be talking about right now, or you may have some inkling or insight, whether you go to H&R Block or anything like that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But even if you get any of these, storefront locations to do your taxes and stuff like that, these that we're going to be talking about right now, these are things that you should be familiar with, or it kind of, kind of triggers a thought in your mind or what have you. But these are your basic W-2 wage earners. What most people are, you work a job, you bring home the income. So for those individuals, let's see how this is going to impact us, for those of us that works a job. So let's jump back over to the presentation. So taxable income is the income that you are taxed on. This is going to be based on your filing status. And this is also going to cover just the standard tax deduction changes that have gone into effect. So if you are single, much like myself, no children, unmarried, okay? So single family, or not really, I don't want to say single family household because that takes a different meaning. So, but if you are single, uh, I'm not going to get into how it impacts you with children. We'll just say single, no children, okay? Or your filing status, basically. Let me correct myself. Your filing status is single, not that you are single, boyfriend, what that stuff doesn't matter. Your filing status on your taxes, okay? Is currently for the year 2017, it's $6,350, which is pretty good. And then it will increase to $12,000 in 2018, which is awesome. So definitely more than, or right at a little bit more than, double for what we'll be able to have available to us for those that are filing singly. If you are filing married, and you're filing jointly, which means both you and your spouse, your husband, you guys are filing together on that same tax return. Right now, currently, the taxable income changes that you have, that'll be listed for your standard tax deduction is $12,700. And so that will increase in 2018 to $24,000. Again, a very nice jump there. Also wanting to get into the child tax credit. And again, this is for qualifying child under the age of 17. Okay. So it doesn't count for your 50-year-old still living in a basement, if that's you, right? So currently right now it's $1,000 in 2017 per qualifying child that you have in your household. That's going to increase to $2,000 in 2018, which is awesome. Now, there's also a little caveat to that as well for those of you that have access to what's called the non-child tax credit. If you have, for example, your elderly parents, you are doing what you're supposed to, you're taking care of them, they have aged or what have you, and they are considered a dependent in your home, and you're their child, or if that's just one example, there may be other examples that qualify you for that. There's something where you get a $500 credit for certain non-child dependent. Again, so if you're taking care of your elderly parents, they're considered now a dependent for you, then that's awesome. So you get a $500 credit for that. So a new update to this taxable income changes for 2018 is that you'll be able to get up to $1,400 of the child tax credit. It'll be refundable for each qualifying child. Now, this is if you didn't owe enough taxes. I don't know who that person would be that doesn't owe enough taxes, but if that happens to be you, based on how you have your stuff set up, then that you have up to $1,400 that you can get refunded back to you if you just so happen to not owe enough taxes. And there are some income limitations that will apply to that, but that is pretty cool as well. So let's jump into the second part of this, which is uh, household and healthcare. Again, this is staying within the context of your personal as well as your familial challenges, that are not really challenges, but your personal and your familial, uh, uh, what do you call it? Your person, for you and your family. You know what I mean. Okay, so here's the deal with healthcare, and then let me jump on here about this. So here's the thing when it comes to the healthcare issue. Now, this is a very touchy subject. This is a very touchy area because, again, this deals, or not necessarily, well, trying to find my words here, but most of this that we're going to be talking about at some point is going to trigger an emotion. It's going to trigger a feeling to where you feel like this is some person's fault, or if these group of people had done this, this would have happened, and so forth, whether that be in a positive or negative respect. So again, as we're having this conversation, let's all remember to stay adults. Let's all remember to look at this from an entrepreneur's perspective. Again, right now we are in the personal side of things, from a consumer personal side versus the business entrepreneur side. So we're still in this everyday man position. So let's not get political or anything like that. Okay, so let's just stay focused on that, because we are going to talk about the healthcare act, Affordable Healthcare Act, that just well, not just recently, but has been an ongoing issue for some time. So let's just remember to stay focused as we're going through this portion of it. So the healthcare has hits and misses, and it just does not seem like anybody can quite get this right. Um, I mean, it's great in some ways, and then it sucks in other ways. And it doesn't matter what you think sucks or what you think is great. It sucks for someone and it's great for someone. And the Affordable Health Care Act, which you'll commonly hear be referred to as Obamacare. It's actually called the Affordable Health Care Act. Okay. Now, this was the intended purpose for this was intended to provide health care to those that may not have, or had access to affordable insurance for whatever reason. So maybe you had a pre-existing condition, whereas maybe someone was not open to providing you coverage, and all kinds of stuff like that. There's a lot of different scenarios that made them want to get this passed. And so, not to go a little bit too much into this, but again, it was an attempt at trying to get affordable health care to every American. Now, didn't quite pan out the way everybody was hoping. So, after the act was passed, there's some people that loved it and appreciated it, and then there are those that just wanted to just straight up get rid of it, destroy it. They felt like it was terrible, horrible thing, and everybody was kind of upset about it. But hey, these are the breaks. And so some ideas came, uh, under, let's just say some ideas of change that came under the new administration that we have right now. So with the group that we have that is in our government, they went through and decided what do they want to keep and what do they want to get rid of. Deciding what they were going to keep and deciding what they were going to get rid of determine what we currently have that's going to be unpacked in this, not this particular trainer, but in this particular tax law that has recently been passed. And this, again, the title, if you ever want to find out more information about what this tax law is doing, just you can Google search Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. That's exactly what it's called. And it's focusing on, some of the larger changes and impacts that we're going to be talking about tonight. So, some healthcare changes that will go into effect for 2018. During the Affordable Health Care Act, there was this penalty where if you do not sign up, which is supposed to be voluntary, but if you don't sign up for this particular, uh, you know, whatever it's called, it's like some kind of schedule, specific schedule that came out, 1095 A or something like that, I believe it was called. But there is a penalty if you did not carry insurance. So that penalty is now gone. There's no longer a tax penalty for not having health insurance under this new tax law. Now, you have some people that since this has been passed, they had an issue. Okay, they felt like they were being penalized for being healthy and not needing continuous medical help. So you have those that like the fact that this was recently passed, because there were a lot of complaints from people that were saying, I run, I take care of myself. I'm constantly, focused on my diet. I'm, a very active person. I haven't had, any serious medical issues in my life in the past 10 or 15 years. You're penalizing me and making me pay, I believe it was like a $200 or so fee on my taxes or at the end of the year because I don't carry insurance because I don't need it. So people that had that opinion, they like the fact that you don't have to deal with this tax penalty. The people that don't like it, they had and they envisioned something happening when that Affordable Health Care Act passed. Their desire was to limit the amount of uninsured people that you have coming into hospitals dealing with, emergency room overflows, and being able to have a system that set up preventative health care maintenance versus emergency health care, that is just may have people on call more often than not. And so had a lot of people in the healthcare industry that thought that to be a great thing versus picking out if somebody had some serious health medical condition early on and being able to provide continuous treatment for them versus being able to or versus the alternative of waiting until it's severe and maybe life threatening, and then they show up in the ER and you're supposed to perform a miracle. And so you had different people that were of those two different polarized sides of the opinion, but at the end of the day, there is no tax penalty any longer when it comes to needing to carry insurance for the year. And I'm taking a sip of water real quick, guys. And so that's that with one of the major changes when it came to healthcare for 2018. So overall impact, I mean, I don't think anybody really knows what kind of implications this is going to have on our community and our ecosystems or what have you. Nobody really knows how this is going to affect the American health industry as well as Americans overall. There are definitely opinions on the matter, but I guess we will just have to wait and find out when we get there. And so now we want to jump into some small business changes. Now, if you are an entrepreneur or you're a entrepreneur, there are a few things that we're going to talk about real quick. However, one of the things that I want to bring to you guys' attention is that yesterday on the channel on youtube.com/Entree Women TV, I did some different tips on what you should know as a small business entrepreneur when it comes to your business. So anything that is currently being changed, that's currently being put into effect, this kind of stuff is going to actually be the stuff in this new tax law is going to be built upon what's already there. Now, we're going to address some concerns and some things that have been brought up when this thing was passed, and just some humbug mumblings and whatnot about what was going to happen in this and this, that, or whatever is the end of small business as we know it. And we're going to talk about that. And so we're, again, not getting into a very deep dive just yet with this, because I want to be able to provide you exact examples, some different figures and things like that. So I won't really be able to get to that until I really can get to some serious reading and some serious examples and putting things in place, so I can better share that with you guys, so that whether you have a brick and mortar business, if you operate an online business, or if you have like a mobile business, like a food truck in the example that we talked about yesterday, how that's going to impact you. And so there are some different things when it comes to your small business that, when it comes to just general taxes, stuff like that, that you need to know and that you want to know, even if you aren't hands on doing the actual financial accounting for your business. There's still stuff that you want to know. So let's hop back over, and then we're going to call it good on this one. Again, keeping it very short, straight to the point with this one. And we're actually doing great on time. So again, let's talk about some small business changes, how those are going to impact some of us entrepreneurs, and just again, some of the major ones right now. So what's the big rumor that everybody is talking about right now? People believe that they have screwed us completely when it comes to small business entrepreneurship, that people are just they're going to pretty much shut us down. There's no room for the little guy anymore. And what does that look like? And so a lot of people are just pissed about the fact that they believe that they're going to shut us down. There's no more space. There's no more room for the little guys and all of that extra other kind of stuff. So the big rumor was the fact that they're going to be taking away tax deductions and things like that when it comes to small business entrepreneurs, and that you guys are just, if you're not a big enough corporation, then I don't know what to tell you. And that has been the big rumor. And so I'm here to tell you right now that deductions were not eliminated for small business entrepreneurs. Again, deductions have not been eliminated with this new tax law for small business entrepreneurs. And here's the thing that you really want to think about. Take a care into looking into who is representing and serving you in our government. Think about the kind of people that are sitting in the seats, whether you feel like they've been paid off or bribed or whatever, I don't care. Just take a look into who these people are. Most of the people that are sitting in Congress own a small business of some sort, whether you can trace it back to their name specifically, or whether it's in a family corporation or something like that that they're taking part of. There is some level or some aspect of a good 80% of them that own a small business. So why would they shoot themselves in the foot? They wouldn't. They would not shoot themselves in the foot, or those that they may be in cahoots with. Why would they do that? Ruin relationships and things like that for a lot of people that take advantage of the small business entrepreneurs. One of the things that I talked about in 2017, despite whether you were for or against who the country's president is currently or whatever, no comments on this at all. No comments down below or in the chat, none. Okay. But regardless as to how people were going to feel about who was being put in that position, one of the things that you have to understand is that it was going to become a fantastic time for small business entrepreneurs. I'll unpack that maybe in that conversation that we'll have in the webinar in the first quarter of the year. But there, I put my finger on it and I said it, and now those things are starting to come to pass as far as it being a great opportunity for small business entrepreneurs. So if you do not have a business, you are definitely going to want one moving forward. And so again, the rumor was that deductions, they were eliminated for small businesses, and that is not true. So moving forward, so deductions for qualified business income for pass-through entities. Oh, went too far. Hold on, guys. Let me get myself together here. There we go, because we're almost done. So this is literally the last slide here. But deductions for qualified business income. And here's the thing. I'm going to unpack this one a little bit slowly, but this is as far as we're going to go as far as the tax law is concerned. So qualified business income, this is a huge section within the tax bill, and there is a lot jam-packed within there, but I want to give you guys the basic understanding of what they're even talking about and what's going on here. So qualified business income, what that means is that for any taxable year, the net, not the gross, but the net amount of qualified items of income, your gains, and your deductions and losses with respect to any trade or business or taxpayer. That's what's being defined as qualified business income. Okay, it's the net amount of the qualified items. And then they talk about it as being qualified business income for pass through entities. Okay, a pass-through entity is what's being considered as a sole proprietorship, an LLC, a partnership, or an S corporation. There is a such thing as a C corporation, but that is not considered a pass-through entity. So a sole proprietorship, where it's typically just you have not set up a business entity, you may be doing business directly in your name, and that's considered a sole proprietor. Then you have an LLC, which is a limited liability corporation, where there is some protection there. There again, limited liability protection or a corporation that's set up there for you when you create your specific business structure. Partnerships, again, everybody's pretty much familiar with partnerships because you usually hear about them going bad, but that's a thing. And then S corporations, which I'm not even going to touch and unpack in the context of this conversation, but just so that you get a general understanding, what you'll most commonly see is sole proprietors, and LLCs, but that's what's considered a pass-through entity. So there is what's called a 20% deduction. Okay, this 20% deduction means that entrepreneurs with a small business, that means you will experience a 20% reduction for your qualified business income, which that's a great thing. That's a great thing. Okay, it's reduced by 20% of what you'll actually get taxed on. So guys, I'm telling you, if you don't have a business, you're definitely going to want one. So again, entrepreneurs with a small business will experience a 20% reduction for qualified business income. Again, that's on the net amount, not the gross. Okay. And so again, I'm just covering this in general as you begin to hear more about the tax law, more about the tax bill, whatever somebody may describe it as or discuss it as. You'll particularly hear about this. What's the issue with this 20% thing? So as you begin to hear more and more, that's why I just wanted to kind of break it down, those different concepts, what they mean when they say qualified business income. What are they talking about when they talk about a pass-through entity? What are they talking about when they're talking about 20% deduction, or what some are saying is a 20% rule? What does that mean, or how does that work? So when you see some of those things now, you'll have a general understanding and a good picture of what that means. Okay. So again, we'll have more conversations on this. I really just want to put the bug in your ear, let you know what is going on. And the thing that I want you guys to do is just stay plugged in. Stay plugged into the conversation of what's going on surrounding business. You don't have to be a guru about knowing all this different stuff. You don't have to know exactly what's what, but you do want to have a general idea. So, guys, that's honestly all that there is that I want to cover today in this conversation. So, definitely want to make sure that you guys stay in touch. The best way to get the most detailed description of what's going to be going on as we unpack more in this 2018 tax law is you want to go to the smallbusinessstartup.com/newsletter. And what that'll do, it'll take you to a link where you'll be able to get access to a free video series where I walk you through in 3 simple steps, 3 simple video parts of how you can go about creating a business from scratch. So if you want to begin to take advantage of some of the things that we talked about today, how those are going to impact you from an entrepreneurial level, things begin to get better as you run your own business. So if you want access to that, go to the smallbusinessstartup.com/newsletter. Again, you guys are already checking this out on Entree Woman TV. And as you guys know, we talk about small business development, video marketing tips, as well as tech and software reviews to know exactly what's what in your business. So, or what tools and stuff you want to use in your business. So if you guys have any questions about this, you want to know a little bit more, or you want more information on just some of the things that we talked about, or what to look forward for, or maybe some questions about some certain things that's going on, definitely make sure that you hit me up at support@thesmallbusinessstartup.com. Of course, you guys will always have access to me on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And then again, make sure you subscribe to youtube.com/Entree Woman TV. And it's all down here if you need help with spellings and all that good stuff. Entree Woman TV, and you'll get my information. We'll have more conversations, chats like this, always not about taxes and so forth. But it's important to know this stuff. It's important to begin to unpack this stuff. Definitely encourage you to subscribe to the Small Business Startup.com newsletter. I definitely encourage you guys to check that out. because as we begin to have more and more conversations about what's going on, how these different changes will impact us, I'll send out email communications to the Entrepreneurs Insiders group. In that email, so that you guys know specifically, what does this mean? Give me an example. Let me see the numbers. Let me see the figures that we'll talk about in the presentation for 2018 in the first quarter. Go through some of those examples and stuff like that. But along the way, until then, if you want more details on stuff like this, if you want more business and small development tips, again, go to the smallbusinessstartup.com/newsletter. It'll take you to the page to get access to the basics to starting a business free e-guide, and also put you on the insiders list. So definitely make sure that you check that out. But guys, you stuck with me, you hung through it, and I'm super pumped and proud of you for it. Again, entrepreneurship is an amazing journey. There's nothing like it in the entire world, and there's nothing more that I love than helping people fulfill their passion and their vision for what it is that they want through small business entrepreneurship. And so it's a little geeky stuff like this that just really makes me super excited, explaining and just very simple concepts of things that probably most people aren't even talking about. So at least not from a small business entrepreneurial level. So guys, that is all that we have. Again, if you have any questions, comments, make sure you keep it polite. Be courteous and kind to the other entrepreneurs in our community. But if you want to reach out to me at support@thesmallbusinessstartup.com. Or if you're watching this, if you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Subscribe to the channel here at Entre Woman TV. And as always, my friends, live with passion. I'll see you guys on the next video or in the email if you're on the insiders list. But take care, my friends. I'll talk with you soon.